Sniper, the absolute master of destroying things' heads with its many weapons to take advantage of. In this video here today, we're going to go over my ultimate guide to the Sniper, but in my typical fashion of upfronting the knowledge of my video, here is the entire perk list that I will be going with for the character. You can simply just stop the video here and look at this and compare it in game, or take a screenshot, whatever it is. Before we do that though, it is worth noting that this column is going to be dependent upon the weapon you want to use. This top one is going to be for bolt sniper rifles and stalker bolt rifles. This bottom one is going to be for the last Fusil, and this middle one is going to be for the bolt carbine. So this is a bit of a flex location here where you're going to swap these ones around based off of the weapon you're using. And of course, the rest of these are going to come down to choosing perks that make sense for how you play the game. Always use these videos as a measurement to get a sense for things and not an absolute creed of how to approach things. Always play things in the way that you like, not in the way the internet says. But if that's all you want to know, feel free to simply shut the video down. You can also jump ahead to any part of this video that interests you the most using the chapters about the timeline in the description. And lastly, too, check me out on Twitch. We are currently streaming right now. I'm just recording the stream, but I stream every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday where I play this game and many, many more. You can find a link to that in my description below. But let's get started here on the Ultimate Sniper Guide for Space Marine 2. So starting us off with the first 9 levels, let's look at our initial ability with Camo Cloak. Camouflage hides you from enemies until your next attack breaks it. The attack will deal more damage. Starting perk, headshot damage is increased by 10%. Now, I do not know what that flat damage bonus is just from having this active or not, but we'll have plenty of ways to modify that damage. We'll be really leaning upon that damage for tons of, damage from this character. Of course, it's a sniper. Of course, we'll want to do that headshot damage. It's kind of how we're going to play. But let's go through our first 9 levels here. Starting with level 2, we get Block Break. Shots against blocking or shielded enemies deal 25% of range damage. I personally hate this perk. I think it's a really terrible, upfront showing of perks, because if you have 2 things running at you, just shoot something that's not blocking. And even if you are shooting things that are blocking, you're probably going to want to shoot to maybe a gaunt or something you can automatically kill. It just seems like wasted ammo at that point. On a class where ammo is very scarce depending on what weapon you're using. So I do not like this perk. I skip this. I don't buy it. I'm only bought it for the video. High capacity. The max amount of ammo you can carry increases by 10%. This, on the other hand, I keep for the entirety of the build. So we will be sticking right here with this because you have tons of ammo scarcity depending upon which weapon you're using. Iron Grip. Recoil from bolt sniper rifles and stalker bolt rifles is reduced by 30%. Stalker bolt rifle is one of my favorite weapons on the sniper. And if you're not going to use the last Fusil, I'm going to suggest you use the Stalker bolt rifle. And we'll go into that more later. But this perk is going to give you tons of mileage. The bolt sniper rifle is just not, personally, in my opinion, it's the way I like to play the game. It doesn't really fit to the way I like to enjoy myself. Even though personally, the way that weapon works is one that I overall like over a last Fusil. So it's a really conflicting set of emotions I've got going in my brain right now. So Stalker bolt rifle, 30% reduction on its recoil. Right up my ass, or right up my alley, huh? Marksmanship here, headshot damage increased by 10% for all squad members. A real good perk that you're going to use all the way until you get to the last one in the team section. Nice 10% damage increase that stacks with your 10% here, and the plenty of 10% damage increase that you're going to get from lots of weapon perks. Into gear, manually activating Camo Cloak removes negative status effects. You can take this if you want, but if this is your first character and you're leveling up and you have a scarcity of requisition, skip this. There's only 3 status effects in the game. Poison, the amplified damage from Zoanthropes, and then the confusion from sorcerers. Maybe there's a 4th one that I can't think of off the top of my head, but just ignore it. It's just not worth it to manually to use your class ability just to clear that effect. It's nice to have otherwise, but you have to manually activate it. None of the automatic ones that you get from, say, this will trigger this effect. So it's just not worth it. Save yourself some money. Guardian Protocol. When you're reviving a squad member, Camo Cloak hides you and the squad member for 5 seconds without spending a charge, and the cooldown is only 30 seconds. This is a really, really nice one to have. It's awesome, especially if you're playing with friends and you're leveling up. This gives you a good amount of utility that is outside of the damage capabilities of your character. You can now revive people very quickly. You can revive people very succinctly, and you can do it quickly once you get this one later in the progression. But I think it's a real good one to have in the early leveling portion of Sniper, so definitely unlock this and have this going for you. You will swap off it eventually, but it's a good one to have until then. Persistence, when Camo Cloak deactivates, you take 20% less health damage for 5 seconds. I don't like this one because, again, it's only a reduction of the health damage, and health damage has varying levels of damage reduction depending upon where your health percentage is at. What I mean by that is at 100%, you take more damage than you do at, say, 30%. So having this is just not worth it, especially since the next one in line is just so much more valuable. And you could skip it even in the early leveling portions because I just don't like it too much. I just never like the less health damage when it comes to anything in this game. Armor is so king, and armor is very easy to restore in this. So as you're leveling up, you shouldn't have too much of an issue. Our first signature is actually really, really good. After a perfectly timed dodge, Camo Cloak automatically activates without spending charge for 5 seconds. Cooldown is 15 seconds. It's an amazing perk, and really, you're going to be juggling between this or the second signature and dependent upon how you approach the game to determine which one's going to make sense for you. I like Evasion until I get the next one, but I think Evasion is still a real amazing perk that is very strong. Moving into our next set of perks, we have Melee Mastery. You are now, like level 10 coming into this. So melee damage increased by 10% against Majoris level and higher. It's an auto pick for me because obviously I don't like this one and I don't like the one after it. So this is my go-to perk. It stays here for the entirety of the game. Our next one is Vantage Point. This one is gonna feel a little funky. Remaining stationary for 2 seconds increases your primary weapon's damage by 20%. So you use this by you stay still, you go into stealth, and you can couple this with another perk later, which we'll talk about, and you get a 20% damage increase as long as you're staying stationary. It's always there. So if you jump in and out of stealth, you'll get that. I don't like Vantage Point. It really conflicts with the way that I like to play the game, especially as I play lots on Lethal and Ruthless, where I can't afford to stay stationary for 2 seconds unless I'm very far behind my team and in a somewhat safe spot. I just am not, it's not the way I like to play. A lot of people do really like this perk, so I encourage you to choose it when you finally unlock it and see if it plays with the way that you like playing the game. I'll also say that this perk gets benefits alongside this perk, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. But I skip it. I just stick with the ammo because you have ammo issues, especially as you're leveling up with the sniper. Our next one is a 15% reload increase to the bolt carbine. If you're using bolt carbines, just take it because nothing else is going to benefit in this column for bolt carbines, so you might as well have it. But bolt carbines reload fast as it is. It's kind of a wasted perk. Next up here is precision targeting. Weapon spread is reduced by 20% for all squad members. It's cool, it has its uses, but I'd rather just have more damage to headshot so I can feel stronger. Prior to this video, I always said that headshot damage is gunstrike damage, but it's coming out now that gunstrike damage and headshot damage are two entirely separate entities. So doing gunstrike damage and having headshot damage increase does not increase your gunstrike damage. And again, I would just still stick with this though, because I'd rather just do more headshot damage with all the weapons I've got and help out my team. Into our next one for gear, efficient readiness, manually activating Camo Cloak automatically reloads ranged weapons. So I would definitely choose this as I'm leveling up because at this point, this isn't really going to be huge for me, but this will. This allowed me to pop into stealth and have a weapon that's good to go right out the gate. So I encourage you to choose this one until we jump down into this one. But targeted shot is what you can really use to work in tandem with Vantage Point. So Vantage Point is stay still for 2 seconds and you get a 20% damage buff. Well, the first shot that breaks your Camo Cloak will deal 75% more damage. So these two in conjunction, you'll do 95% more damage. So this gives you a lot of really fun cascading benefits on top of tons of headshot damage benefits and on top of all of your weapons. As someone in chat pointed out, the best way to really approach this is to use a bolt sniper rifle, stand still for 2 seconds, and then shoot. And by the time you get through your third shot, you'll have killed the target or put it into execute. So there is definitely ways to approach it. It's just not the way that I personally enjoy playing. I just am not really big on staying still in this game, period. But I take this no matter what because first range attack that breaks Camo Cloak is so huge. This basically enables you to go into camo and then shoot things with the last Fusil once or twice and start to put it into execute towards the end of the last Fusil's upgrade. It's really damn good. Next up is lingering concealment. After performing an attack that breaks camo cloak, you remain hidden for 2 seconds. Again, I like this because I just stay cloaked for a little bit longer. It gives me a lot more flexibility. I kill something or hit something, then I can displace very quickly. And it reduces the amount of time in between my next cloak after we move into the last tier. So you're going to start to feel a bit of a power spike now. As you come into this last signature ability, when you receive lethal damage, Camo Cloak automatically activates without spending charge, and you become invulnerable for 5 seconds. It's huge. It does activate every 3 minutes, so you don't get it a ton, but what I like about this is a cheat death ability. So if I'm really stuck up and people are just bombarding me, shooting me, killing me, whatever it is, I then am now invulnerable, so I can't get killed with bystander damage. Like, oh, you can cloak and something could hit someone else and still do damage to you. But this makes it so I'm invulnerable, so I am now invulnerable and I can maybe get a teammate up. I'm cloaked, whatever the situation is, that I can really take advantage of this. It's a really, really, really good one, and I do very much like it. So this is how I'd approach it. At this point, you're going to feel like the class is starting to come online finally, which is good, because up to this, you kind of feel a little janky. This allows you to feel good because you now have good camo cloak damage, which is going to go with your multiplier that comes in from the camo cloak's natural. The attack that breaks the camo cloak deals additional damage. Those two will work in conjunction with one another to give you a little bit more spice. But let's now jump into the bottom row. Moving into our last set of levels, we have Medicae Adept. Now, this was a cool one, but there are use cases for it, right? So you revive squad members 30% faster. You could cloak and revive both of your squad members with a single camo cloak charge. I just personally would like to go with the melee mastery, which increases my damage against Majoris enemies. This is dependent upon my squad mates getting downed versus this is a bonus that I can constantly take advantage of. So I like melee mastery over the chance to heal or get someone up. You get a ton of damage reduction when you're reviving a squad member. So you cloak, you go revive a squad member, and if you have a second one down, just run over to them and get them back up. You can get someone revived if you have like 5% health left and not lose enough health to die. You'll be totally fine. So this, for me, just doesn't fit the way I play the class. Next up here is adaptability. Reloading while having low ammo increases melee damage by 15% for 5 seconds. It's just a useless perk. If this was reloading while having low ammo increases range damage by 15% for 5 seconds, I'd be down with it. But this means you're using your pistol or you've got another weapon out and you quickly reload it. It's got too many moving parts for me to be for it to be useful. I'd rather just have the less chance of being at low ammo with high capacity. Now, next up here is lethal efficiency. Killing more than one enemy with one shot from a las Fusil restores its charge by 1. You shoot this into a group of Gaunts or into a group of Zangors, you will kill them and you will get that charge entirely refunded. This allows you to hold down your las Fusil, charge it up and shoot, charge it up and shoot, charge it up and shoot, and just clear waves of crap. It is so sick. Lethal efficiency is what allows the las Fusil to just feel so strong and so powerful. So if you're going las Fusil, you would swap over to this. If you're leveling up the Bolt sniper rifle or the Stalker bolt, you jump back up to here. Next up, we have Squad Renewal. A headshot kill restores ability to charge by 10% for any squad member. This is massively important because you will now have the capability to not only keep your camo cloak online, but your bulwark banner, your not a bastion, your heavies, Iron Halo, the Auspex Tactical, all those are going to stay up all the time because of the constant headshots. A headshot kill restores ability to charge by 10% for any squad member. And remember that this works for any headshot. So when you go to do a bunch of las Fusil shots through a ton of Gaunts and you get a bunch of headshots through that whole process, well, that's going to be 10%. And for you personally, you get an extra 5% because of renewal. A headshot kill restores camo cloak's charge by 5%. Stack these two together and you get a 15% camo cloak charge every time you headshot something or headshot kill something. So it is massively huge for you. It gives you such a huge benefit. Next up, we have Tactical Ambush. The first melee attack that breaks camo cloak deals 100% more damage. Now, the new Shadow Stab for the combat knife that got improved in the last patch, you can use these two in conjunction to do a disgusting amount of damage. If you're cloaked, you can Shadow Stab a Majoris from full health to execute or outright kill using tactical ambush. So you can actually have like a backstab rogue build if you want using tactical ambush. So go with a bolt carbine and use your camo cloak to backstab things. Oh, not even back. You don't even need to be behind them. You can just simply stab them. And you can now get a ton of really fun playability out of that style of build. If that's what you want to go with, a more melee sniper, you would go with this. Then we've got ambush. When camo cloak deactivates, it startles nearby enemies. They will temporarily lose control or get knocked back. Cooldown is 30 seconds. If you wanted to go with a melee build, I think this is when ambush can shine. I personally like this because staying camo cloaked is better because then you can displace if you go with a melee build. But this is a pretty cool way to put yourself into melee with your shadow stab and with tactical ambush. And then this at least will startle and stun things so you can get out of the situation. And a 30-second cooldown is not that long. You can use this quite a bit if you're going with a melee build. Lastly, you have got the Pattern of Excellence. Performing 4 consecutive headshots restores equipment charge by 1. Cooldown is 180 seconds. I don't touch this. I never touch anything that gives me an equipment charge. It's just not for me. So these are our perks as laid out using a las Fusil in the way that I would like to play the game, the way I like to approach sniper. Of course, you would swap or flex these two depending upon which weapon you're using. But now that we've talked so much about weapons, let's go into that progression. Jumping over here to melee, let's start with the combat knife. It's our only option anyway. And I won't lie to you, I hate the combat knife. I am not a fan of it. It's just not the way I like to play. It feels clunky to me. The chainsword reigns supreme for everything. But we're still going to go through it because we don't have another choice. So, as you level up, just go with the fencing option. A lot of people recommend that you go with the balanced option because of the speed of the combat knife. I'm sorry. I lied to you right here. I forgot that the fencing weapon drops your strength to 2. Go with the balance option here. Go with the balance option here. I'll explain why you go with the fencing option later. And as we jump into Artificer tier, go with the fencing option because the block option is it should not exist in the game right now. And then when you get into Relic, go with the fencing option. People say go with the balance option because it has a higher speed. You do have a trade-off of losing a point of strength, but the higher speed allows you to parry, dodge, allows you to pull through the animations quicker. And there is a big truth to that. But with the way that fencing works now, after the 4.0 patch, fencing moved the parry window and it's way sharper and way cleaner. Balance, yes, you can technically parry faster, but the parry window of fencing is just far better, far more responsive. I think that the fencing weapon is a much better bet to go with for all shapes and sizes of your sniper. You could say go with the block weapon if you want to go with like an uber melee build, but again, block just doesn't have that fun. I definitely like the fencing weapon. And of course, if you want to just go with the look of it, there you go. Now I'm using a fencing weapon, but with the look of the balance weapon. So those are your options here. Let's go into our perk tree. And with that perk tree, we're going to go through the progression here. So we're going to start off here with Perpetual Strength for that melee damage. I don't like the top row because I don't like having melee damage on full armor. We are always going to be bouncing around with our armor, right? So that first one here, when we first start off, as we level that one up, we're going to go into Kinetic Energy. Each consecutive heavy attack increases heavy melee attack damage by 3%, up to 30% for 3 seconds. Just remember, you have to use heavy attacks to trigger this. And then as we finish off our masterwork and getting both of those things leveled up, melee damage is increased by 5. We're going to go up here for more melee damage as we jump into Artificer. This would be the first perk of Artificer. And then get that second perk of Artificer into Shadow Stab. Most people will tell you to go with Shoulder Bash and try it out. It costs you nothing to refund these perks, right? So definitely try out Shoulder Bash. See if you like it. I personally do not like how it displaces the character. It creates a lot of visual clutter for me. I don't appreciate or like the way it works or feels. It does knock things back to instantly create a gun strike, so it definitely has an amazing value to it. And I think it's warranted. I think it's ultimately a really good perk. People probably in a min-max scenario choose this over what I'm about to recommend. But Shadow Stab replaces your heavy swing with Shadow Stab, but it's only the very first swing in your combo. So if you press like attack, not to be confused again with the very hit band attack, part of the emo core movement, which then spun off to make Bill Murray and then I think Royal Coda. But either way, So I'll put a Swan Core. Shadow Stab, if you hold down your first heavy attack, you will charge your blade up. And it goes through one charge and then a second charge. And on that second charge, it does a crap ton of damage. So you can take and it tracks really well. So you lock onto something, hold down your stab, it will lunge and do a ton of damage. I like it. It really works for the way that I like to play the game versus this, which just guarantees me gun strikes. Again, still good, but it just doesn't really work for me. But like I was saying earlier before making the emo core joke, you can attack and then just use a normal heavy attack, or attack and use a normal heavy attack. It's only the very first swing from neutral that it replaces. Then I'm going to spice down and get both of these. The melee damage increase to both Chaos and to Tyranids. You could just choose one of them technically. You know, hey, I'm going to go do Chaos maps, but I don't like to constantly recycle or swap around my items. And then lastly, Tide of Battle, power wave forward distance increases from 4 to 8 with the Whirlwind Slash, which is the last thing in the chain. So it makes it so that that distance that it displaces things is 8 meters, no longer just 4. The other option here is enemies hit by Whirlwind Slash deal 30% less damage. That's just not useful to me. I'd rather knock them around to then create gun strikes for me. Now, let's talk about our bolt pistol. It's our only option anyway, right? So bolt pistol, for the progression on your bolt pistol, I like to go with accuracy in Mastercrafted. Because we also get the benefit of increased ammo through our innate perks. So it does kind of help shore up the difference here. This gives us 20 more rounds in our ammo reserve, right? But it's 2 more rounds in the magazine. And then I jump over here. I still actually like to stick with the accuracy. For Artificer, I don't, you know, you can definitely jump into ammo at this point. It's really going to be dealer's choice. Well, when we move into Relic, making the switch over to the ammo variant is really nice, because that gives you that 4-up accuracy, but you can still stick with the accuracy one if you want. I think that the thing with the bolt pistol is you've just got so many shots in ammo reserve that's increased through perks and perk tree that it doesn't feel as bad to not go with a magazine capacity, and the accuracy of bolt weapons really suffers. So going with reliable accuracy is always really, really nice. So do whatever makes sense for you and how you want to approach using your bolt pistol. Now for our perk tree, again, I just went with accuracy stuff. So max spread reduction here, max spread reduction on perfect dodge, which is really just to get to this one. After a gun strike, the equipped weapon is instantly reloads. So this just keeps you constantly using the bolt pistol. And what I find is with the bolt pistol, I have it out all the time if I'm using a bolt sniper rifle. Over here now into max spread damage. Max spread decrease by 10% again. Headshot damage increase here and here. After killing a Majoris level or higher enemy with a melee weapon, headshots deal 50%. I don't really care. I just wanted to get to this, which is just 10% more headshot damage. And we also pick up mag size increased by 15% of the max. So you can see ammo's not that big of a deal with the bolt pistol because we have so many ways to improve it across our perks or the actual weapons perks. Moving into our actual primary weapon, let's start off with the one that I recommend the most for the sniper, and it's the Las Fusil. And it's because you can just chain, stay in camo, headshot, and kill things. It is a very satisfying game loop once you get to max level on sniper, because you're just killing things left and right. It is so damn fun. We'll talk about that more in the next section. But let's go through how you progress with this weapon. I just go with ammo because the ammo is so scarce on it. It's just really low. And until you get the ammo reload perk at level 20, I want to say, or 21, you're going to be running low on ammo with the Las Fusil. So I just go solely on ammo here. You can go with the damage one if you want, but it's not really going to matter. You can go with the rate of fire one on Artificer as well. And rate of fire, I believe, also increases the charge speed. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I'm a big fan of the ammo just all the way through here. It just is, one more damage is not worth 8 less rounds, right? So I just go 100% with mag capacity on the Las Fusil. And with our perk tree, I go heavy into the shot charge. So shots charge 15% faster. If I'm below 30% health, they now charge 25% faster in addition to that 15%. Headshot damage here, I like a wider beam with this one. More headshot damage. This one is only here to get me into the next level, but killing an enemy restores armor 0.5 seconds earlier, and that stacks, or does not stack here. I'm sorry, I thought it was the same one. you can kill tons of gaunts very quickly. So this can actually have a practical effect on you in the game. It's not just a wasted perk necessarily. It just depends on how you're using the Fusil. I use it for clearing gaunts and for killing Majoris, because I also take this for more headshot damage. When your health is below 30%, killing 3 enemies with 1 or more shot restores health by 5%. So you can kind of just charge up and shoot through tons of gaunts to get shots back for free, right? And get 5% health up to 30. Then shots charge an additional 15% faster. So we have quite a bit of charging here at below 30% health. If you think about it, then we're going to be charging, what, 55% faster? So it's very, very nice. You can go down here, though, for radius of beam increase if you want. I just really like having that shot charge very fast. Get off nice, clean shots with this weapon to make it feel really nice for the sniper. Next up, if you don't like the last Fusil, the Stalker bolt rifle is absolutely amazing. It's like a 3 or 4 round headshot kill on lethal with the relic tier. It's really, really good. Actually, I'm sorry, that's like 3-4 shots with the artificer. It's probably less with the relic. It's a really fun, enjoyable weapon. It feels really good with the way that I like to play sniper as well. So with the progression on this, I'm just focusing solely on magazine. There's so few shots in mag and in reserve that we need to just really focus on capacity as much as possible. You can jump all the way down here, just get better firepower, better rate of fire, but your rate of fire feels very satisfying, even though it says a 2. Now for our perk tree, I stick with reload faster as well, because I don't like these bottom ones. This is distance dependent and this is health dependent, so it's not worth it to me. I'd rather go reload faster and health dropping below 30%. The equip weapon instantly reloads, whatever, that's just there. This I hate, but recoil is reduced by 25%, which works in conjunction with my class perk. Then headshot damage, and then ammo reserve increased by 20%. And then after a perfectly timed dodge, headshots deal 35%. I mean, unfortunately, I took this. It probably, you know what? As I even look at this right now, this is a better bet. We'll go across, down, across, down, and then this. The reason I did that is, after a perfectly timed dodge, headshots deal 35% more damage. That's not good. Max ammo reserve, we already went with, but this, after reloading your weapon, your ammo reserve is restored by 50% of the number of enemies hit. Just simply hit. So this is always going to give me some form of ammo back. Cannot exceed max ammo capacity, of course. I'm not going to get too much of a benefit here. So I'd much rather have reload restoration on this weapon to help make sure I constantly have ammo to keep shooting and just instantly killing things. Well, maybe not instantly, but like pretty instant. Next up is our bolt carbine. Now I have not leveled up the bolt carbine. I don't enjoy it on this class, but it does definitely have its merits, especially if you're playing with a melee class. And the marksman variant, this one is very, very satisfying. It just got a buff in its newest and the most recent patch, and it's very fun to play with. So if you do play with the bolt carbine, I recommend the marksman variant. Otherwise, you have got this one, which is an SMG. This is the SMG, and then this is the marksman. So if you see it's got a little scope on it, that's the marksman variant, and you can see it changes the profile of it vastly on the left. Here's the SMG. Here is the marksman. And for the marksman, just go with the accuracy profile. Or, you know what? Actually, I would go with the damage profile. I forgot there's a scope on it, right? The scope doesn't work, though, like the Stalker bolt carbine. One of them does, the other does not, from what I remember. I've used this in a different build of the game when I actually had this leveled up. And then, when you come up to this max level, just go again with the actual marksman variant. It's got a buff. It's very nice. It feels very good, especially with you've seen how much stuff, if you get headshot kills, plays into how the character works. And then for our perk tree, honestly, we're going to go down to the bottom here. Recoil is reduced by 25%. Jump over here to killing enemies in rapid succession reduces recoil. That's not too big. We just want all these. So right now we've got 3 perks. We would get 8 more. And then this would go 1, 2 for magazine increase, 3 damage increase, 4 max ammo reserve increase, 5 headshot damage, 6 headshot damage, 7 equip max spread decrease by 25% when firing without aiming, and then 8 for that magazine restoration. So When your health drops below 30%, your ammo reserve is restored by a full mag, cannot exceed. You could skip this perk if you wanted to and just get more recoil reduction. That's probably actually the better way to approach it. Just go out all the way to adamantine grip, but just grab these two because you want that headshot damage. That's going to be crucial for this weapon. All right, the other sniper rifle on the list, the Bolt sniper rifle. And I really want this to be a better weapon. It just got a buff in the most recent patch, about 12 and a half or 15% more damage. It does do good damage, and it is not a terrible weapon, but I just don't like playing with it because it feels so clunky to me. One of the best things I heard about the Bolt sniper rifle is the Bolt sniper rifle, the biggest problem with the Bolt sniper rifle is that the las Fusil exists. Because the las Fusil is so effective from a perk standpoint, from a weapons perk standpoint, from a gameplay standpoint, it just outclasses the Bolt sniper rifle, which has a little more lackluster perk tree and a bunch of gameplay variants that don't make a lot of sense. It's not an actual bolt action rifle, but it shoots like one. It doesn't shoot semi-automatic. You hear a bolt sliding, but it's not really. It creates a real huge issue with the play style, in my opinion. It's too slow for being a weapon that should be a semi-automatic weapon, in my opinion. I don't think that would. It has such a wild rate of fire that controlling the rate of fire with a higher. It has such a wild recoil that controlling the recoil with a higher rate of fire, I feel would be a fun skill reward. So I think this needs a better rate of fire to actually be a true contender to the las Fusil. But going up, I would go strictly with magazine capacity because the biggest problem is the magazine capacity and ammo reserve of this weapon. You are constantly running out of ammo with this weapon, and I find I switch to the plasma pistol, the bolt pistol, way too much when I play with this. And just more ammo capacity all the way up until relic. Going into the perk tree progression for the Bolt sniper rifle, we're going to start at the bottom here. So enemies at a distance of 20 meters. I don't like this perk, but at least it's something that you can actually do. When your health is below 30%, you deal 25% more damage. It's a nice to have. Again, we're not relying too much on it, but it's just more damage to the weapon. Recoil reduction by 25%. Now, I'd like to just simply go over here, but I want that headshot increase. This thing just needs any damage increase it can get. And fast regeneration, we're just never going to take advantage of it on this weapon. So headshot damage increase, and now we're out of points, but we're going to get 3 more once you get to relic. I would go with max ammo reserve of this weapon is increased by 20%. This is okay, but I don't like it. I would go I would go down here for reload restoration yet again. So after reloading, your ammo reserve is restored by 50% of the number of enemies hit. Cannot exceed max ammo. So go with this because we just have such an ammo problem with this weapon, and then go with Great Might for damage increased by 10% against Terminus level enemies. It's one of the biggest issue with this weapon is it just doesn't do good damage to Terminus. This allows you to do at least 10% more damage to them, and you'll find that you'll finally start to thrive a little bit with your Bolt sniper rifle. So with all that being said, what are some of the core tenets or ways to approach playing the sniper? And the sniper is a class that's really unique and interesting because you aren't just hanging back shooting things from a safe vantage point. You are actually very much in like a mid to long range location. You don't have the advantage of an iron halo which kind of allows you to spray and pray, right? With an iron halo on the heavy, you can just stay in the thick of things and shoot stuff to death. With the sniper, you really have to use your camo cloak to line up really potent shots to take down especially Terminus as fast as possible. Terminus and Extremis can be killed very quickly with headshots, but you definitely need those headshots. When it comes to any of the thropes, Zone or Neuro, you can take them out faster than anyone. Maybe someone with a tactical aspects and tons of damage, right? Sure, I'll give you that. But I mean, on demand, you have the best capacity to kill those Terminus and Extremis enemies. It's going to be harder with Extremis because they can bounce around a lot, but when it comes to any of those big scary Terminus, that's where you're going to really shine. And what you really need to learn with this class is, here's a hot take. This is the single strongest class in the game. And I think that, yes, the tactical aspects and a tactical, they can do tons of damage, but on demand, you are the only class that can dump aggro, meaning everyone that's attacking you can just simply vanish when you press a gamma cloak or camo cloak. They run away. They go do something else. And then you can just simply pump and dump. I said what I said. Tons of las fuel shots into Majoris, into Minoris, getting tons of ammo back, getting tons of damage on, and then having your camo cloak right back online. This is the thing you need to learn about this class. It sucks to begin with. It's very slow, and I don't like the sniper, period. Hands down, I hate it. It's just not the way I like playing this game. But I definitely know that it is a class that can thrive at just ripping things down and apart by using the last Fusil, using all those capabilities to keep the high headshot damage in, getting tons of ammo back for doing so, and pushing through the content very well. You can solo everything on lethal with this class. You can't on every other class, right? And that's just a huge benefit. And on top of it, it keeps you at a very mobile point in your team. You can go ahead and pop yourself into camo and go and get a down teammate. You can pop yourself into a camo, displace, and get a lot of really good shots in with your last Fusil. You have this capability to break away from your squad and really help out when things are really kind of scary. You can use your last Fusil, pop into camo, go get over to all of those Tyranids that are launching stranglers at you, barbed stranglers, and just take them out. Or maybe they're the sniper ones, take them out. Maybe it's all the devourers, you can take them out. There's such a cool amount of versatility in this class, but I think it's a class that is very tricky to play. It requires you to really kind of have a good game presence to really know what's going on, and it requires you to be pretty spot on with your aiming. I play with a controller, and I struggle to make this class work the most for me because I'm using a controller. If I switched back to just using my mouse and keyboard, then there's no problem. I'm just clicking heads, right? But you really need to realize that 4x or whatever multiplier it is for headshots is really the bread and the butter, the nut and the butter, the butternut of the sniper class. Those headshots are just going to be so crucial for you. There's weapons like the bolt carbine and the Stalker bolt rifle, which are a little bit more forgiving if you miss your headshots, but getting those headshots on the bolt sniper rifle are absolutely key, and they're very key for the last Fusil to maintain damage and ammo for that weapon. And when it comes to like stuff like equipment and grenades, it's really fun to use a melted charge, drop it on the ground, stealth and walk away and blow it up. It's all, or drop on the ground, stealth, run away from it, and then blow things up. There's a lot of really fun there, a lot of fun there. But stuff like the shock grenade is a lot of fun with this class because you can simply throw it in places that they can't see, or go stealth and throw it into a pack that you've now kind of corralled around you. So there's a lot of really fun things that you can do with your equipment charges that I encourage you to really experiment and play around with the sniper. But hopefully this gives you a better idea on how to approach the sniper in Space Marine 2. It is a very tricky class, but I think that the class, once you kind of get off the ground with it, and once you level up the last Fusil and you get the class to 25, you just become a head popper. You just simply just clicking and destroying, and it's a very fun, satisfying gameplay loop once you get to it. Much like the assault starts off very weak and becomes very destructive, you have to slog through that trial of fire with the sniper to really find a class that turns on at level 25 with a max level damage weapon. But if you have any suggestions on how to approach this class, stuff that you would do to really make it shine, go ahead and let it be known in the comment section below. Always try to make sure there's as much information is disseminated out to the people as possible. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.